Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the verse for this morning's discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam is Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 38. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say that before we study Srimad Bhagavatam, we should spend a couple of minutes glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. That's when Srimad Bhagavatam will bless us with his mercy, and that's when we can tap into what he wants to tell us for the day. Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varshi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Śrī Kṛṣṇāya Namostume. This is a very beautiful verse by Srila Sanatana Goswami, where he says Paramananda Pathaya. Srimad Bhagavatam gives Parama Ananda, great joy, Pathaya, just by studying. And Prema Varshi Aksharayate. And every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is like a cloud who only pours in the rain of Prema, love for Krishna. So if someone studies Srimad Bhagavatam, memorizes the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, remembers Srimad Bhagavatam, worships even on the altar with Gandha, Pushpa, Dhoop, Deep, Naivedya, with incense sticks and ghee lamps, distributes Srimad Bhagavatam, even speaks on Srimad Bhagavatam, sings the songs on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and preaches the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prema Varshi Aksharayate. Every syllable becomes like a cloud, giving in the rain of love for Krishna. So what that actually means is, if we study Srimad Bhagavatam every day, you will fall in love with Krishna, and of this there is no doubt. This is why this is one of the limbs of bhakti. I remember one time when I went to South India, to a place called Coimbatore, I had the good fortune of meeting a couple who were in their 80s, and they had been studying Srimad Bhagavatam for about 50 years in their life. 55 years in their life. And they actually, it's quite fascinating. I was invited to speak at an old age home where parents all the parents, retired parents, were living. Their kids were separate, but the parents were all in an old age home. And this couple was there. And when I spoke to them, it was quite fascinating because the old age home invited me to speak and address those who were old in the assembly. And I kept it very simple with a simple storyline. But I saw that every time I quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, there was one male on the male side and one female on the female side sitting on the front row, and they were actually lip-syncing and whispering every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam that I was quoting. And I was very, very happy. I was thinking that this couple sitting in the old age home, they have memorized the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. So after I finished my talk, I went straight to them and I said that next time I would like you to speak and I would like to hear, because you were quoting all the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. So they were so humble. He was probably about maybe 82 or 83, and she was probably about 79 or 80 years old. And they were so humble, and they were saying, no, we just love to be in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam. We love to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We love to study Srimad Bhagavatam. We love to sit in any class where there's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. I said, how long have you been in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam? They said more than 50 years. They said from the time we got married, our principle of marriage was every day we will study Srimad Bhagavatam. So much so that they have a specific routine where they read 12 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Just the Sanskrit. 12 chapters. And they do the math in such a way that, there are 335 chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam. So they do the math accordingly, and they told me that they finish studying the Srimad Bhagavatam many, many times every year. 12 chapters a day. So you can imagine, maybe about 25 odd days, you finish about 300 chapters, and then maybe another couple of 3 more days. So basically the point is, in 1 month they have completed Srimad Bhagavatam so successfully, so many times. So in 1 year they finished Srimad Bhagavatam 12 times. And they have been studying it for 50 years now. So you can imagine how many times they have studied Srimad Bhagavatam. And they said initially we would read the verse and the translation, but now we have done it so many times. They just read the verse and they know what it means. And then they read another verse and they know what it means. So that's the extent of their study of Srimad Bhagavatam. And personally, I witnessed that. I went to their room where they sit and study Srimad Bhagavatam. They showed me their age-old Srimad Bhagavatam. And both the retired couple, they were sitting, and she would quote a verse and immediately he would say, oh, what about that verse? And then in excitement, he would quote another verse. And then she would say, but what about this verse? And then she would in excitement quote another verse. And then he would say, but what about that verse? And in this way, they would complement each other with the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I felt to myself that I don't even think I will live as much as 80 or 85 or however old they were. What to speak of studying Srimad Bhagavatam at that age. And now is the icing on the cake. Now that they are in the retired old age home, staying there, they were conducting Bhagavatam classes for all other couples who were living there. So every day they would speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. And then others would come to their Bhagavatam classes. And then other students came in and they told me that, this Mataji and this Prabhuji, they are our Bhagavatam teachers. And still they were so humble, sitting to a class of someone maybe 1/4 their age. It taught me so many lessons on humility and their attachment to Srimad Bhagavatam. So the reason I'm saying this is Sanatana Goswami Pad, although he was advanced in age, he would do Giriraj Govardhan Parikrama, and he would pray to Srimad Bhagavatam. Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varshi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaye Śrī Kṛṣṇaya Namostume. That, O Srimad Bhagavatam, you are Krishna, direct manifestation. Just like Krishna's holy name is Krishna, Krishna's Vigraha, deity form is Krishna, Krishna's abode, Vrindavan is Krishna, and Krishna's pure devotees are also non-different from Krishna. Pure Vaishnavas. Therefore in the Bhagavatam you can see many times Narada Muni is also referred to as Bhagavan. Or you can see Indra is referred to as Bhagavan, because they're very advanced. So in this way you can see Śrī Kṛṣṇaya Namostume. This incarnation of Krishna called as Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly worthy of our worship, daily worship. Yesterday I had the good fortune of meeting one Prabhupada disciple here by the name Prabhu. He's from the state of Oregon, here in the West Coast. He was telling me it's been about 55 years he follows a practice. I said, what is that practice? He said, chanting Hare Krishna. And I was amazed. He told me he got initiated by Srila Prabhupada in the 70s. I believe 1971 or something. So it's been about 52 years he's chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The same Hare Krishna Mahamantra every single day for more than 50 years. And as I was amazed, he said, well, I want to tell you one more thing. There's one more practice I've been doing for more than 50 years. And now I got even more excited. And he said, I have been chanting the first 2 chapters of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam every day for the last 50 years. Let that sink in. Every verse of the first 2 chapters of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam every single day. He said, I've been doing it for over 50 years now. And then as I was amazed, he threw one more bomb. He said, actually, there's one more thing I have been chanting for 50 years. I got even more excited. He said, it is the Śrī Ishopanishad. He said, Srila Prabhupada said, by daily reciting Śrī Ishopanishad, you will be protected by Krishna. And also Srila Prabhupada said that the first 2 chapters of the first canto, if they are chanted, they bring in all auspiciousness in the life of a devotee. So all those who are listening to this discussion, that's a good introduction to the class. So now let's begin. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So this is Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 38. Etad ishanam ishasya prakristhopi tad gunaihi na yujyate sadatmasthair yata buddhistadashraya. Although I am the one chanting here, and it's not a call and response because it's not a live setting, I would request all of you, as we are reading it, please read it. Although you're on mute, please you also articulate and read these verses. Even if we don't know at this point what it means, these transcendental sound vibration of the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, they have the power to purify the consciousness. So let's do this together once again. Etad ishanam ishasya prakristhopi tad gunai na yujyate sadatmasthair yatha buddhistadashraya. Now let's do this with the live audience here. Etad ishanam ishasya prakristhopi tad gunai na yujyate sadatmasthair yatha buddhistadashraya. One last time. Etad ishanam ishasya prakristhopi tad gunai na yujyate sadatmasthair yatha buddhistadashraya. Synonyms and translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Etad means this. Ishanam ishasya. This is the divinity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prakritistaha, being in contact with material nature, api, in spite of, tad gunaihi na yujyate. He is never affected by the qualities. Why? Sada atmasthaihi. By those who are situated in eternity, yatha, as is, buddhihi, intelligence, tat, the Lord, ashrayaha, those who are under the shelter of. Just want to give little context on the contextual presence of this verse, because the context is very important, otherwise we won't understand what's happening. For those of us who have been reading this section, you will get the connection. But for those of us who are just joining in for this verse, it says this is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. What is the divinity? The context is, the verses before this, they say that Krishna is entering Dwaraka. And as he's entering Dwaraka, the queens of Dwaraka, they're smiling at Krishna. Krishna's wives, Krishna's queens, they're smiling, they're glancing. And they're all very beautiful. And they're all very young. But at the same time, it's described that although they are so attractive, they are physically beautiful, very attractive, they are decked up with good clothes and ornaments, they have the finest character and personality, very good qualities, and smiling faces, and loving glances. It's described even Cupid would get attracted by the smile and the glance of the wives of Krishna in Dwaraka. Still, it's described Krishna wasn't very much attracted by the smile or by the glancing. Of course, he's attracted by the devotion of the devotee, but he's never under the control of lust. That is the context. And just the words before this, it says even great personalities like Brahma and Shiva, sometimes it's described for the pastime, they get attracted. You see the pastime of Brahma in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also you see the pastime of Lord Shiva being attracted to Mohini Murti. But however, the way we understand this is Lord Shiva is not attracted by Kam or Cupid. He's getting attracted to Krishna when he comes in a feminine form. Because Lord Shiva didn't run behind an Apsara in Swarga. He didn't run behind any woman of this world. He ran behind Mohini Murti, who's Radha Raman in a feminine form. So can you imagine? Krishna, when he comes as Radha Raman, he's so attractive. Now when he becomes a woman and he comes and smiles and lifts his eyebrows and is dancing and he's carrying a pot of nectar and playing with a ball amidst the devatas and the asuras and has the most finest clothes. So can't even imagine how attractive Krishna would be. So it's Lord Shiva's devotion that he's getting magnetized and hypnotized behind Mohini Murti, not to be taken out of context as lust. Nonetheless, as a reference, Srimad Bhagavatam says, still we see the demigods getting attracted, but Krishna wasn't attracted. He was not materially attracted to any woman ever. And that is the context where the translation begins. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature, even though he's in contact with them. You can see sannyasis, they stay away, brahmacharis, they stay away from family life. They stay away from rajas and tamas. And naturally, they are not attracted by it. But it's described for Krishna, he is in touch in the sense that he is the king, he has an army, he has an enemy, still he doesn't get angry. He has queens around, still he doesn't get lusty, he doesn't get agitated. He has so much wealth, still he doesn't get greedy. There are those who envy him, but still he doesn't envy them. So he's in touch with everything around, but still he's not affected by the qualities. And not just Krishna. The line says, similarly, the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord, they do not become influenced by the material qualities. So if you take shelter of Krishna, Prabhupada is saying, and Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, you will not be touched by lust. Let's read the purport. In the Vedas and the Vedic literature, the Shruti and the Smriti, it is affirmed that in the divinity there is nothing material. He is transcendental, nirguna, the supreme cognizant. Hari, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the supreme transcendental person situated beyond the range of material affection. These statements are also confirmed even by Acharya Shankara, Sripad Shankara Acharya. One may argue that his relation with the goddesses of fortune may be transcendental, but what about his relation with the Yadu dynasty, being born in that family? Or his killing of the non-believers like Jarasandha and other asuras, directly in contact with the modes of material nature? So Prabhupada is asking this question. Yes, you can say that the queens of Krishna are his eternal associates, therefore there's no lust. But what about Jarasandha? What about Kamsa? They're all demons. They're completely all the time complaining and criticizing Krishna. So Krishna killing them, or Nrsingadev ripping Hiranyakashipu. How can you say that he has no anger? So the answer Prabhupada gives, the answer is that the divinity of the Supreme Lord is never in contact with the qualities of material nature in any circumstance. Actually, he is in contact with such qualities because he is the ultimate source of everything. But he is above the actions of such qualities. He is known, therefore, as Yogeshwara, the master of mystic power, or in other words, the all-powerful. Even his learned devotees are not affected by the influences of material modes. The great 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan all came from greatly rich and aristocratic families, but when they adopted the life of mendicants in Vrindavan, superficially they appeared to be wretched conditions of life, but factually they were the richest of all in spiritual values. Such Mahabhagavatas or first great devotees, although moving amongst men, are never contaminated by honor or insult, hunger or satisfaction, sleep or wakefulness, which are all resultant actions of the three modes of material nature. Similarly, some of them are engaged in worldly dealings, yet are unaffected. Unless these neutralities of life are there, one cannot be considered situated in transcendence. The divinity and his associates are on the same transcendental plane, and their glories are always transcendental, even if there are sometimes found to be fallen in their behavior. Don't worry, don't be confused. Once we finish the purport, we will explain. So hold on. Don't think, oh, it's all going over my head. I have no clue what's happening. The Lord emphatically declares in the Bhagavad Gita that even if an unalloyed devotee is bound to be fallen due to previous material contamination, he is nevertheless to be accepted as fully transcendental because of his being engaged 100% in devotional service of the Lord. The Lord protects him although because of his rendering service unto him and the fallen conditions are to be considered accidental and temporary, they will vanish in no time. Many times, people in India and people around the world, actually, those who follow Sanatana Dharma, you can see they have this question: is Krishna actually God? He's dancing with so many gopis. They say, for us, Sri Ramchandra is God. For us, Vishnu is God. We can accept Vishnu to be God. But Krishna, quite confusing. Tat atyanta vidambanam, Bhagavatam describes. Queen Kunti is actually saying this verse, that Krishna is quite astonishing, that you are the source of all fear. Mrityor mrityam namamyaham. And still Mother Yashoda, when she runs with a whipping stick behind you, you're crying and rubbing your eyes because, not that you're faking it, but you're actually afraid. Tat atyanta vidambanam. It's quite bewildering. You can see more people believing in Sri Ram because you can predict his pastimes. Eka Patni Vrata. And he was ready to wage a war, a complete war, to win back the hand of Mother Sita from Ravana. Sri Ramachandra is so kind, so compassionate. He's ready to befriend the monkeys. There was one person, a Rama Bhakta, who was once mentioning, a devotee of Sri Ram, he was mentioning that in my childhood, my grandfather taught me the story of Sri Ram. And he told me, always worship Sri Ram. The speaker of Ram Katha was speaking. He said, my grandfather taught me the stories of Sri Ram, and he said, he's so kind. Ram is so kind that even if you're a monkey, he will befriend you and hold your hand and take you across the ocean of birth and death. He will build a stone bridge so that monkeys can cross over from one end to another. He said, so even if you're fallen, even if we are Vanara, Vanara means, are you a human? That's a question. Narava? Nara means human, and Va means are you? Narava, Kunjarova. Is this a human? So the monkeys almost look like humans. So therefore they are called Narava or Vanara. So the speaker would say, if Ram can cross Vanara, why can't he cross Nara across the ocean of birth and death by building a bridge of stones? He said, but however Krishna, the speaker continued, he said he is so attractive that he will play his flute, win your heart, melt your heart, completely attract you, and then when you can't live without him, he will leave Vrindavan and go to Mathura. The speaker was saying. And we can see others who worship Nishinga, who worship Mahavishnu. And it's all glorious. All these incarnations, all these manifestations are glorious. But I'm going to stand up little for Krishna today. Because all the time people, whenever they see any boy and girl walk together, they say, oh, he's Shyamsundar. And these are his gopis. People talk cheaply like that. They think any man who is promiscuous or who's flirtatious, they compare him to Krishna. And they compare any girl who's just, laughing, joking, dancing around with a boy. They say, oh, all of you are like gopis and he's like Krishna. Actually, our blood should boil when we hear comparisons like this. Kama Krishna Sevarpane, Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane, Lobha Sadhu Sange Hari Katha. Narottam Das Thakur in Prem Bhakti Chandrika, he says, the true application of lust, Kama Krishna Sevarpane, is in becoming a grihastha and begetting children. That's the only application of lust. And Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane, the only application of anger is when Krishna or his associates get criticized. If Krishna gets criticized or one pure devotee is getting criticized and we stand there, I don't know what to say, they are criticizing, then we get implicated in that same offense. No action is in itself bad action. We have to stand up and at least say, yes, Prabhuji, you feel this is what it is, but actually there's another side to the story. At least try your best. Narottam Das Thakur says the best application of anger is when devotees and Krishna get criticized. And Prabhupada gives 2 examples. Who knows? The application of anger in the right place. Hanuman burning Lanka. That's one application of anger. Second application of anger. Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna himself, he applied anger in the best possible way by fighting the battle. So when someone criticizes Krishna, we as devotees of Krishna, we should not shiver down the spine. Oh my God, they are touching the sensitive nerve of Rasa Leela. They are touching the sensitive nerve of Krishna dancing with the gopis. What can I do? No, we should have a few comebacks ready. So that is the section of today's verse, and therefore that falls rightly in place with our discussion. It is described, this is the divinity of the Supreme Lord, that all the Krishnas present between the gopis, he not once got lusty, ever. There was no question of any behavior or dealing which was inappropriate, neither in Vrindavan nor in Dwarka. It is described that the 5 chapters of Rasa Leela, that Krishna and his descriptions of Rasa Leela with the gopis are described, it is considered to be the crest jewel of all pastimes. Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sarvam Manoram. Of all Leelas, the Rasa Leela is considered to be the first class, the highest, the pinnacle, the peak on the mountain of Krishna's pastimes. If it was a lusty affair of boys and girls flinging together, why do you think Vyasadeva would include that in the Srimad Bhagavatam? We should agree that Vyasadeva has more intelligence than us. Point number 1. Vyasadeva, he is called Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. He is called Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. Krishna because he was dark complexioned. Also he was an incarnation of Krishna. Also he was very attractive. All 3 meanings of Krishna. Krishna means dark complexion, Krishna means all attractive, and Krishna means Krishna. So he was very attractive in his personality. He was dark complexion, yet at the same time he was an incarnation of Krishna. So he is Krishna. Dvaipayana. He is called Dvaipayana because he appeared on an island. And in Sanskrit, an island is called Dvipa. So he who appeared on a Dvipa is called Dvaipayana. Dvaipayano viraha katara ajuhava. He who appeared on an island is called Dvaipayana. And he was called Vyas. In Sanskrit, the word Vyas, Vyasyate iti, which means he who can split and compile at the same time. So he split the Vedas topic-wise, and yet at the same time compiled them into different categories. So he's the compiler of the Vedas. Actually, if you see the Vedas, they don't have a structure with respect to, okay, now we will describe this, now we will describe that. But it was Vyasadeva who broke it down to Samaveda, Rigveda, Yajurveda and Atharva Veda. He also compiled the 18 Puranas, the 108 Upanishads. He compiled the Itihasas, the historical narrations in the form of the Mahabharata. He also compiled the Aranyakas, the Samhitas like the Manu Samhita, Garga Samhita, Brahma Samhita, so many Samhitas. After doing all this, we know in the Bhagavatam that he was not very satisfied. So the question is, if these don't satisfy the author, how will they satisfy the reader? You can spend all your life reading all of this, but then you must come to the same conclusion as the author himself, that is Vyasadeva. And when he was dissatisfied, his Gurudev, Narada Muni, came and said, have you described the Rasa Leela? Have you described Krishna in Vrindavan? Have you described Nanda and Yashoda? Have you spoken about Radharani? Have you spoken about the glories of the gopis and the singing and dancing in the Rasa Leela? Vyasadeva said, no, I haven't. Narad Muni said, that is the crest jewel of all pastimes. This is why you're not satisfied. You speak about Krishna in Vrindavan, speak about Nanda and Yashoda, and speak about the gopis, and speak about Radharani, and speak about Venu Geet and Gopi Geet and Brahmar Geet and Yugal Geet and the Ras Panchadhyay. Describe the song of Krishna's flute. Describe how the threefold bending form of Shama Sundar is like a rain-filled monsoon cloud. Describe how his dhoti is like the lightning, yellow dhoti. And describe how his flute sound is like the thundering. Describe when his friends, when they offer flowers, it comes like twinkling stars. Describe how his face is like a full moon and his eyes are like lotus petals. Describe how the locks of soft black hair are like bumblebees buzzing on the lotus of his face. Describe how his whole body is like a rain-filled monsoon cloud. Yet at the same time, the flower garlands with different forest flowers of Vrindavan and the peacock feather, they are so colorful that they are all like rainbows. Describe how the beautiful pearl necklace around his chest, which is moving back and forth, are like flying white birds in the sky. Describe how his feet are like two lotuses decorating Mother Earth. Describe the tinkling of his ankle bell and how he completely melts by the love of the Brajvasis. Describe all this, oh Vyas. This is what will satisfy everyone's heart. So Vyasadeva knew that this is the subject matter, but I can't build it up. I can't directly explain. So he builds it up slowly through different cantos. Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanamutaya manvantara ishanu katha nirodha mukti mashraya. He describes the planetary model. He describes different dynasties. He describes different devotees like Gajendra, Prahlad, Dhruva, Chitraketu, Vritrasur. Describes Bali Maharaj, Ramachandra. And then comes to the 10th canto. So, in all the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam is crest jewel. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto is crest jewel. And in the 10th canto, Krishna's Braja Leelas, Vrindavan pastimes are the crest jewel. And in Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, the 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela are the crest jewel. So how can that which is the crest, the 5 chapters of Rasa Leela, they are the essence of the Braja Leela, which is the essence of the 10th canto, which is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all that Vyasadeva has written. After which, Vyas became so satisfied that he dropped his pen. He said, Swamin kritarthosmi varam na yache. Yet I am so self-satisfied that I don't feel like writing anything more. I am happy just reading my own work. So we must understand that the Rasa Leela, the 5 chapters of Rasa Leela, they are considered to be the Panchapran. Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna's body. And the 10th canto is Krishna's heart. And according to Ayurveda and Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they understand that there are 5 life airs in the heart. The life air which goes up, the life airs which goes down, etc. There are 5 life airs. We won't get into that. Apan, Udan, Pran, Ityadi. That gets into Patanjali Yoga section. So we will have that for some other time. But the point is, the Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna's body. 10th canto is Krishna's heart. If 10th canto is Krishna's heart, these 5 chapters are the 5 life airs. What happens when the life airs are neglected? The person will die. So these 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela, if they were the mixing of Krishna with the gopis, and in any way, if they were lusty in the dealings, why would they be considered to be the essence of the essence of the essence of the essence of all that exists? Vyasadeva will never do something like this. After compiling thousands and thousands of verses, actually Mahabharata itself is 100,000 verses in Sanskrit. So he is Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. He is dark complexioned, he is very attractive, he is encyclopedic in his compilation. He has a heart and a brain which is, there's nobody like him. And this is why even now you can see in the Gujarati line in India, many times people carry this surname, this last name of Vyas, Mahesh Vyas, Lalit Vyas. You can see the name Vyas used many times. So that is those are the descendants of Vyasadeva. The compilers of the Shastra. So Vyasadeva is very learned. Narad Muni is extremely self-realized. Why would Narad Muni inspire Vyasadeva to write a lusty affair of Radha and Krishna if it was lusty, let's say? And why would Vyas even do it? Let's say Narad Muni and Vyasadeva both made mistakes. Let's play the devil's advocate. Narad Muni, let's say he made a mistake by telling Vyas, maybe he liked the Rasa Leela. So he told Vyas, you do it. And Vyas, maybe because he's a faithful disciple, he followed his guru's instruction and he wrote it. Why would he teach his son Śrī Goswami about the Rasa Leela if it was lusty in any way? Śrī Goswami was so realized, he was so advanced, that he never even wore clothes. There's a very famous story that when Śrī Goswami walked, women didn't even cover their bodies if they were bathing in the river, because they would think, oh, it doesn't even matter to him. But when Vyas would walk, they would immediately cover their dress, their body. And when Vyas would inquire, they would say, well, Śrī Goswami is so transcendental. For him, he can't even distinguish between a boy and a girl. But Vyas, you're Grihastha, so you know. So they would cover themselves. So Śrī Goswami was so advanced, he never even wore clothes. What to speak of not knowing whether his clothes are on or off? He didn't even know whether his body was on or off. He was so transcendental. Whether his body existed or not, that also he didn't know. That is how transcendental Śrī Goswami is. And because of this transcendence, when he walked into the assembly of very great sages, Narad Muni was there, Parashara Muni was there, Gautam Rishi was there, Atri was there, Parshuram himself was there. Everyone got up and told Śrī Goswami, please sit on the Vyasasana. Now Narad Muni could say, well, I was the one who inspired the speaker's father Vyas. He's my disciple. But Narad Muni would say, no. When Śrī Goswami speaks, it is like a parrot which has touched its beak in the very juicy nectarian mango fruit. Mango is already tasty, that's Bhagavatam. But when the parrot, Shuka, there's a very nice pun play of word, because Shuka in Sanskrit means parrot. But Shuka also means Shukadev. So when the parrot, Shuka, touches the Amraphala, the mango fruit, Nigama Kalpataru, that's another pun. Because mango is mango, but mango is also the king of fruits, and that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Shuka touches his red beak, now that's another pun, because red in Sanskrit is Anurag. Anurag is the word used for red beak. But Anurag also means loving. So when the parrot, called Shukadev, touches his red beak of love into the mango fruit, Srimad Bhagavatam, then the saliva of the parrot, which is his realization, mixes with the sweetness of the mango, and the mango becomes even more relishable. So there's multi-layer meanings here. So Śrī Goswami would have edited this section out if it was lusty. First of all, Vyas would not. First of all, Narad Muni would not approve. And if Narad approved, Vyas would not write. And if Vyas also fulfilled, Śrī would just edit it out. Who would speak such things in an assembly of Narada Muni and Parashara Muni and Atri and Gautam Rishi and Bharadwaj Rishi and Parshuram? Parshuram would probably like polish his axe by the end of the katha. Right? He would not tolerate any wrongdoings. But Śrī Goswami repeated the 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela. Now we would say, well, did he make a mistake? One word, one name for Śrī is Badarayani. What is it? So you can see everywhere it is Śrī Shuka Uvacha. Before a chapter begins, Śrī Shuka Uvacha, Śrī Goswami spoke. But before the Rasa Leela beginning, it is Śrī Badarayani Uvacha. So my holy spiritual master comments in this point that the word Badarayani means the son of Badarayana. Badarayana is the name for Vyas. Why? Because Ayana means to take shelter and Badara means bear fruit. What is it called? The boar fruit? Bear fruit? Bear phal? तो क्या कहते हैं? You know? अपर्णा माता जी उसको क्या कहते हैं? Bear phal को? What do you call that fruit? Huh? Pacific fruit. Nonetheless, in India you can find that even many times on the traffic lights they sell. It's called bear phal. Okay, nonetheless. In Sanskrit it is called badara. And traditionally only sadhus would eat it. Because it would be found only in the middle of the forest. Just 1 minute. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So we were mentioning that Vyasadeva was called Badarayana because he would live eating the badara fruit. He would live in the middle of the forest, so austere, eating the badara fruit, and his meditation was Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, the Rasa Leela is so exalted. Oh Krishna, please give me a son who can digest it. Please give me a son who can give this nectar to the whole world. And because Vyas himself did tapasya sitting under the trees with badara fruit and eating only on those fruits in the middle of the forest, and as a result of his meditation got a son who will fulfill that desire, therefore Shukadeva Goswami is called Badarayani. So in the start of the Rasa Leela, it is said, Badarayani Uvacha. That son who was born as an answer to the father's prayer. And the father who lived in the middle of the forest eating only badar vriksh, badar fruit. That Shukadeva Goswami who came as a gift from Krishna's side and who lived in the mother's womb for more than 12 years. Can you imagine the mother walking with a 12-year-old baby in her womb? Even 12-month-old baby would be difficult. Right? What to speak of 12 years? Shukadeva Goswami never left his mother's womb. And Vyas had to come and knock tuk, 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 on the door of the mother's womb. Like, Shukra, come out. And he would say, well, why should I come out? A sadhu needs a little bhajan kutir. That's my mother's womb. And whatever food has to be madhu curry, my mother's putting in the mouth and I'm getting it. And in seclusion, I don't want to talk to anyone, so I'm in the womb. And I'm chanting and remembering Krishna. That's all that we need. Why should I even come out? Karanena vina karyam na kadachana vidyate. Without a karana, without a cause, there's no need to do any work. No one does anything without a reason. So why should I come out? There is no reason. So Vyasa said, I need a son who can digest the 10th canto. Not every disciple of mine can understand Krishna's Rasa Leela. So I need an Antaranga Bhakta, a dear associate of Krishna who can come in this world. I have prayed for your appearance. You are the chosen one to carry the current of Braja Bhakti. So that Shukadeva Goswami, who was the answer to Vyasa's prayers, and Vyas sat in the middle of the forest eating only badar vriksh, badar fruit. So austere. That Shukadeva Goswami is speaking. So he could have edited it out if it was lusty and if it was materially passionate. But because it is not, he continued to have it. Okay, now let's play more devil's advocate and say, maybe let's say Shukadeva Goswami also made a mistake. Where was this even chanted? In the assembly of such great saints. Narada Muni, Parashara Muni, Atri Muni, Bharadwaja Rishi, Parashuram. They would have all stopped. They would have said, stop talking all dirty topics. If the topic was not transcendental, they would have said, shh. After speaking Gajendra and Prahlad and Dhruva and Chitraketu and all of these, and just before that, he spoke about Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba and Balaram and Vrindavan. And now, will the rasa drop to lust? After describing all of this, will the assembly allow to let the ras fall down to material lust? No, it's just transcendental. Also, it happened on the banks of Ganga. Even you and I would not speak things like this on the banks of the Ganga. Those who go and take their dip in the Ganga, even when children, they talk, the parents say, shh, Ganga snan kar rahe ho, maun rakho. You're bathing in the Ganga, zip up. Don't talk. What to speak of talk, all topics which are mundane and materially passionate on the banks of Ganga. Nobody would do that. Let's say devil's advocate to one more extent. Vyas made a mistake, Narada made a mistake, Shukadeva Goswami made a mistake. Let's say they all went bizarre, they went crazy on the banks of Ganga. The whole assembly went passionate. They all wanted to hear this. What about the chief listener, Maharaj Parikshit? What to speak of Maharaj Parikshit? It is described, Vishnu Ratena Samprishto Bhagavan Badarayani. Who's speaking Srimad Bhagavatam? Badarayani. But who's listening? Vishnu Rat. Please everyone say Vishnu Rat. Vishnu Rat is the name for Maharaj Parikshit as he who was protected by Vishnu while being in the womb. My Guru Maharaj was once saying that Parikshit Maharaj is so glorious. When you speak about his birth, you speak less about him and more about Krishna. Because when you have to talk about Parikshit's birth or appearance, you will say how he was protected by Vishnu in the womb from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. Then when you talk about his departure, you will talk less about him and more about Srimad Bhagavatam. Parikshit is so glorious, his birth, his appearance and disappearance. Speak less about him and more about Krishna. And what to speak of the life in the middle. Everything is so Krishna conscious. He who was protected by Krishna in the womb, can there be anyone more pure than that? Krishna is entering the womb to protect the child from the Brahmastra. When Uttara cried, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Tvad Abhayam Pashye Yatra Mrityu Parasparam. Uttara was being tortured and scorched by the heat of the Brahmastra by Ashwatthama. And she was running, oh Krishna, please save me. And please save the last descendant of the Pandavas. And Krishna, it is described, Angushta Matram. He appeared in the size of a thumb. He entered the womb of Uttara and protected Parikshit. And because of this, Krishna has a name, Uttarayan. Uttara Ayana. Ayana means to take shelter. He who took shelter of the womb of Uttara is Uttarayan. So in the Bhagavatam it is described, Bhishmadev waited for Uttarayan. It's quite cryptic. Because generally when you read, you will think, oh, Bhishmadev waited for the sun to move in the northern direction. That is Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. But why would Bhishmadev even care about it? Yes, from Laukik Drishti, from materialistic, mundane, worldly vision, yes. But that's not what he was waiting for. He was waiting for Krishna, who's Uttarayana. That Krishna who entered, actually Bhagavatam is so beautiful. I want to mention something. In this context of Bhishmadev's departure, it is said, Bhishma waited for Kalaha, time, to become Uttarayana. So now you may think, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Kalosmi, I am time. So Bhishma was actually waiting for Kala, that is Krishna. But which Krishna? Uttarayana, who had entered the womb of Uttarayan. So externally he waited for the time, Kala, Uttarayan. But he was actually waiting for Krishna, whose time, who had entered the womb of Uttara. How beautiful. How beautiful. And Krishna entered the womb of Uttara, protected Maharaj Parikshit. And that's how Parikshit Maharaj came in this world. How can such a great soul as Maharaj Parikshit sit and listen to the Rasa Leela, especially when he's on the departing bed? And which man would speak these lusty topics to a dying person? Imagine someone's dying on their deathbed, on their departure bed, and you hold their hand and you speak about all lusty affairs. That person will wake up and slap. He'll say, are you my enemy or are you my friend? The last few moments when I am breathing in this world, I want to hear positive vibrations so that my consciousness is in the right place. Even we won't speak topics of this world to a dying man. They will always say, Śrī Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. I have seen so many places when a person is departing, family comes together and they're chanting Vishnu Sahasranam, they're chanting Śrī Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Even you and I will not speak topics which are lusty to a dying man. What to speak of, and the dying man wouldn't tolerate even. What to speak of Shukadev Goswami doing that to Parikshit, who's departing. So now you may say, well, there were 7 days, maybe he could just play around with a day or two and then still speak other topics. No, the 10th canto was on the 5th day. So imagine, let's say today's Sunday. If someone had to depart on Tuesday, we would not sit and speak topics of this world. And that person, if he has had darshan of Krishna in the womb, he wouldn't tolerate either. Because unless you're completely purified, you will not have darshan of Krishna. And once you're pure, you will not tolerate anything material. And Maharaj Parikshit is such a... So then the question could be, maybe Maharaj Parikshit slept off in the class. We're being devil's advocate to the greatest extent. Maybe Maharaj Parikshit slept off in the class, so he didn't realize what was happening. No, that never happens. Because there are times when Shukadev Goswami says something and Maharaj Parikshit interrupts. And he says, well, oh dear Gurudev, I don't so agree to this proposal. Like for example, you can see the start of the 6th canto. After describing the 5th canto, the last chapter, 26th chapter, which talks about hell, In the start of the 6th canto, Maharaj Parikshit is asking this question. How do you think a person can get out of hellish condition or be free from hell? So Shukadeva Goswami says, well, as soon as they make a mistake, they should repent about it. And they should apologize and they should have atonement. If you make a mistake, say sorry and never commit it again. Immediately Maharaj Parikshit will cut this proposal and he'll say, there are so many mistakes we commit. Many times we don't even understand it's a fault. What to speak of atone and apologize for each one of them? I don't think this is a good idea. So Shukadeva Goswami says, good. I was just checking how attentive you are. So as speakers, it's not wrong to sometimes test the attention of the audience. So Parikshit Maharaj would immediately add a comment or ask a question and make a statement. So he's listening to this Rasa Leela with so much relish. So then the question could be, okay, let's say Narad Muni made a mistake, Vyas made a mistake, Shukadeva Goswami made a mistake, and all of this, let's say, we're being devil's advocate here. Let's say they didn't realize it was the banks of Ganga. They just thought it was some normal river. Maybe the assembly, everyone went off to sleep. Maybe Maharaj Parikshit also dozed off. Then the question is, what about Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who considered Srimad Bhagavatam to be the life of the Vaishnava community? And he left Grihastha Ashram and took sannyas. Mahaprabhu was so strict about the dealings between male and female that it is described, Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanon Mukhasya Param Param Jigamishor Bhavasagarasya Sandarshanam Vishayinam Athayoshitanam Ha Hanta Hanta Vishabhakshanatopya Sadhu. Mahaprabhu would say, if someone wants to get Krishna, then they have two options. Either they take Vishaya, or let's say, Mahaprabhu is speaking this with a lot of depth, so please listen to this very attentively. Mahaprabhu is saying, if someone wants Krishna, they have to stay away from sense gratification in this world, which is called Vishaya. And he says, there are two options. Either Vish, you can drink Vish, which is poison, or you can enjoy Vishaya, enjoyment in this world. And he says, between the two, Vish is more palatable. Poison. Why? Because poison separates, as soon as someone consumes poison, there's death. It separates the soul from the body. But enjoying sense gratification in this world only delays our presence in this world. Delays our going back home, back to God. It extends our permanent residency, green card in this world. It's extending our stay. So Mahaprabhu is saying that drinking poison separates the soul from the body, Visha, but Vishaya, enjoying this world, it separates the soul from the super soul. What is a bigger loss? Separating soul from the body or separating soul from super soul? Separating it from super soul. So Vishaya, enjoying this world in the form of the opposite gender, and at the same time taking association of those who are not Krishna conscious. Therefore, boys and girls, they must be very careful. They should not intermingle too closely. They should not sit together. They should not laugh too much. They should not cut jokes. They should be very careful, because someone will say, oh, we're just friends. But everything starts from that point. It's a downhill slope. So therefore, gender discrimination is not on the basis of whether male is better or female is better. No, it's just to protect both of them. Just so that there's no pollution and contamination by the intermingling. So girls have to protect themselves. When in Shastra it is said, oh, we should avoid the association of women, it's not to degrade the women population. It goes the other way too. Women have to be careful of male association. Because Shastra was spoken for sadhus, it typically talks about association with women. But in the present generation, there are sadhus and sadhavis all through. There are male and female devotees. So it must be seen both ways. Matajis must safeguard their Krishna consciousness, but not by not associating too closely with man apart from their husband. And if not married, they should be very careful. And same with the boys also. One has to be very careful. So Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict in this regard. When Kala Krishna Das, one of Mahaprabhu's servant, he went with some women in South India. Mahaprabhu rejected him. He said, I don't want to see your face. When Chota Haridas just begged little rice from a house where there happened to be a young woman, Mahaprabhu said, don't show me your face and throw this rice away. I don't need it. Mahaprabhu would say, one should not even look at a doll which is in the shape of a woman if one wants to protect one's Krishna consciousness. And same goes for the women as well. You know, this culture of idealizing Bollywood and Hollywood superstars, and one should have heroes in the form of the acharyas on the altar. They are our heroes. They are our celebrities. So Mahaprabhu is very strict. Very, very strict. Why would he read and analyze and relish the Srimad Bhagavatam if the Rasa Leela was lusty? And why would the 6 Goswamis, as Prabhupada writes in the purport, the followers of Mahaprabhu, who lived under trees and who just have a coping cloth under their waist and they lived by begging, why would they write commentaries to the Srimad Bhagavatam? They won't even associate with women. They were Babajis. They lived under different trees every night. They slept on their hand. They wrote on palm leaves. They ate off the floor. Why would they write commentaries of Radha and Krishna if the matters are lusty? In fact, there are books glorifying Radha and Krishna. Madhava Mahotsava is one. Radha Krishna Ganadesh Deepika. So many books. And they're just talking about Radha and Krishna. If there was lust, why would they even do that? Why would our acharyas comment? Why would Srila Prabhupada painstakingly at the age of 70 travel the long distance and install deities if they were lusty? Radha and Krishna, if there was lust, why would Prabhupada give up his family, get on a cargo ship and go around the world installing deities which are lusty? Doesn't make any sense. And now this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says that Krishna is completely transcendental, and not just that. Anyone who takes shelter of Krishna, they also become transcendental, says this verse. Quite astonishing. Quite astonishing. In this world, if you see a very passionate movie, angry, it's filled with suspense and drama and punching and kicking and fighting, or it's a romantic movie or whatever it is, you will see those impressions of those scenes will inspire the emotions in the heart of the onlooker. And you may see some people, they watch a movie and for 2-3 days the hangover still continues. They will act and speak like the hero or the heroine in that movie. Right? So when someone sees a lusty movie, or they're reading something which is agitating, or they're seeing, like for Ajamil, he just saw once and his whole life was destroyed. So by seeing something, by hearing something lusty or reading something lusty, you can see the person becomes lusty. Lust gets invoked in the heart. But you can see those who worship Krishna, they all become sannyasis. Quite astonishing. Quite astonishing. How great should Krishna be that he performs leelas which apparently seem to be lusty, and by meditating on those leelas, lust becomes destroyed in the heart of the meditator. This is really astonishing. Generally, the remedy given for lust is you stay away. You stay away from anything that's agitating. But it's quite fascinating that Nivritta Tarshai Rupakiyamana Bhavav Shadashrotra Manobhirama Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajeta Vina Pashugnat. That Krishna Leela attracts the sadhus who are liberated, and it also attracts those who are in this world. 3 categories. 1, those who are liberated, they find Krishna Leela to be sweet. Those who want to get liberated, they find it to be a medicine. And those who are happy being in this world, like our colleagues and our friends, they're also attracted to Krishna Leela, because I remember when I was a child, I was doing book distribution, and I came to one man and I asked him, so we have a few books, what book would you like to have? And he said, give me that book which describes Krishna's Rasa Leela. So I understood the lusty nature of the heart of this person. But I was still, then I gave him a Krishna book and I said, you read from the start, because the whole book describes the Rasa Leela, I told him. So then when he reads from the beginning, he'll have some idea. And I gave it in Marathi because he was like a village watchman. He was not even like a IT professional. He was like a chowkidar. So at that point I was thinking, Krishna is certainly all attractive because he's attracting even those who are lusty. You can see Ramachandra's pastimes, because Ekapatni Vrata, They know this is how it's a pretty, very sweet pastime where there's one husband and one wife. So those who are lusty, they will be, you have to have some devotional content in your heart to get attracted to Ram. You have to have some devotion in your heart to get attracted to Vishnu. But even if you're completely lusty, Krishna can throw in a Rasa Leela and still attract you. Krishna can throw in a bait of his Rasa Leela and attract the fish of our mind, however lusty we may be. You see, if someone is very lusty, you speak to them about Varaha Dev or Nrsimha Dev, they will look at their phone. And you start describing about Radha and Krishna dancing with Radharani, they'll keep their phone aside and they want to hear now. Krishna is so attractive that he attracts those who are liberated, those who want to get liberated, and also those who don't want to get liberated. He attracts everyone. So it's quite fascinating that Ram's Leelas, they destroy lust too. Nrsimha Leela also destroys lust. Vishnu's pastimes also destroy lust. But they don't have an apparent display of lust. Ram's Leelas are very sweet. And by meditating on them, lust gets destroyed. But Krishna's Leelas, they apparently seem to be lusty. And by meditating on them, lust gets destroyed. So the question is, if there was lust in those pastimes, meditating on them would just increase the lust in the heart of the devotee. How can someone be free of lust by meditating on the apparently lusty pastimes of Krishna? Right? Quite fascinating. And why do we see that there is lust in the pastimes of Krishna? Because Atmavat Manyate Jagat. Someone who is diabetic, who doesn't take a few sweets, they can look into the plate of others and say, are you diabetic too? I don't see sweets on your plate. But before they become diabetic, they will not be able to find that. But once they are in that situation, now they can spot it in others. So similarly, when we have lust in this world, and we see in this world, when male and female come together, this is what happens. This is how it unfolds. So what we do, we superimpose that on divinity, and we say, they're coming together. This is what it may be. The example given is, let's say there's a cow, which unfortunately gets stuck in a cowshed, which is on fire. So the cow only sees flames all over. Unfortunately, it gets saved. So it's a very strong impression in the heart of the cow that orange flames, red color, orange color means fire. So next time the cow comes, and the person who's taking care of the cow comes with an orange t-shirt, the cow will not go close to him. Will start walking behind. Why? Because the impression in the heart is anything orange or red represents fire. So the cow starts thinking, the t-shirt is orange, maybe it's fire. So we are like that. We are like a cow living in the cowshed of this world where the flames of lust are devouring everyone. So we think orange, red color means fire. So when you see Krishna come with a red t-shirt in the form of the Rasa Leela, we think, that must be fire too. That must be lust too. And finally, we must understand that the three sitting places of lust according to the Bhagavad Gita are mind, intelligence and material senses. Krishna has none of them. Krishna doesn't have a material mind, Krishna doesn't have a material intelligence, and he doesn't have a material body with material senses. Where can lust sit? Lust has no sitting place. What we do is we give Swagatam, Swagatam, Suswagatam. Please, Kamadev, come and sit in my mind. Please come and sit in my buddhi. Please come and sit in my senses. Swaha. But Krishna gives no Swagatam at all. So where will come and sit? And when Kam did come into Vrindavan, he saw Krishna and he got attracted. And he surrendered. And therefore Krishna is called Madan Mohan. And that Cupid of Vrindavan, Krishna, gets attracted to another big Cupid. That's called Srimati Radharani. So Cupid, lust of this world is called Madan. Krishna who attracts lust and conquers lust is called Madan Mohan. And Radha who conquers that Krishna is called Madan Mohan Mohini. So if you take shelter of Radha and Krishna, lust will be out. So this verse, I will screen share once again, says, this is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature, even though he is in contact with them. I hope everyone's understanding. Similarly, the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord do not become influenced by the material qualities. So we try to elaborate a few thoughts on this verse of Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam. That this is the divinity of the Lord. Although he is present in this world, although he interacts with the gopis and the queens, He's not, there's no pregnancy, there's no abortion, there's no miscarriage, there's no wrong interaction. It's like the lotus which is in the muddy pool but never gets muddy. It's like a book distributor who enters a jail for distributing Bhagavad Gita but never becomes a prisoner. A book distributor may go from jail to give Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. He's inside the jail, but he doesn't become a prisoner. So what to speak of Krishna, who is described in the books of the book distributor. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Braja Leela ki jai, Radha Krishna's eternal loving pastimes ki jai, Gaudiya Guru Varga ki jai, Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Sham. Krishna.